Stop humiliating yourself starts the second you stop performing for her approval. Read that again. You think the problem is that she's too demanding, that she needs reassurance, that you're just being considerate. You're addicted to preventing her disappointment. That's why you over-explain. That's why you send those paragraphs nobody asked for. That's why you narrate your schedule like a defendant reading a statement to the court. You told her you can't make it tonight, and then you wrote a novel proving you're still a good boy. Who you're with. Why it matters. How you'll make it up to her. You didn't communicate, you bled. She didn't request permission, you offered it anyway. And in that moment, something primal in her flips. This man is led by my reaction, not by his own center. Watch how it happens in the small scenes you pretend don't matter. She texts, Friday? You reply, can't, already promised my brother I'd help him move. And before her typing bubble even appears, you vomited a 5-message apology with a voice note on top, as if the truth requires decorations. She goes silent for 12 minutes and your nervous system starts doing push-ups. Should I add one more explanation? Should I send a screenshot? Should I call? You're not talking to her anymore. You're bargaining with your fear. And fear is the ugliest cologne a man can wear. Attraction evaporates not because you said no, but because you couldn't bear to stand on it. Here's the part you don't want to hear. The more you explain, the less she believes you. Not because your reasons are bad, but because your energy confesses the real story. You're seeking a verdict, not stating reality. Every extra sentence says, please don't be mad at me. Please don't leave. Please tell me I'm still acceptable. You think you're building connection. She feels you auditioning for it. You think you're being transparent. She sees you asking her to be your emotional parent. Women don't want to adopt you. They want to feel a man's gravity and decide if they can orbit it. Why do you do this? Because someone taught you long before women ever entered the picture that your internal signals can't be trusted. You felt, I need space, and heard, don't be difficult. You said, I'm not coming, and learned, explain yourself. Your body logged a rule. Truth is dangerous unless it's padded in apologies. Decades later you're still doing PR for your own life. You can smell the panic on yourself. You press send and immediately feel dirty, like you just sold a piece of your spine for temporary peace. That shame you feel after explaining? That's your soul memeing you with a single caption, we didn't need to say that. The brutal irony is that the thing you're trying to avoid, her disappointment, is exactly what you create. When she senses your reality bends to her moods, she stops respecting the reality and starts testing the mood. She raises an eyebrow, you rush to smooth it. She sighs, you submit your thesis. She plays quiet, you start juggling. She doesn't even have to ask anymore. Your fear does the work for her. And once a woman learns that your center is negotiable, she'll never believe in it again. Not because she's cruel, but because her nervous system can't relax with a man who needs permission to exist. You want to know what actually flips her attraction back on? Not a better paragraph. Not a warmer emoji. Not a calendar screenshot. Authority. Stated simply. Carried cleanly. Can't do Friday. Sunday works. Full stop. No trailer. No bonus features. Let the silence do what your panic used to ruin. Silence is not stonewalling. Silence is proof that your decision comes from somewhere deeper than her reaction. When your words are few, your presence gets loud. And presence is what her body is scanning for when her mind is still arguing. Picture two versions of you in the same moment. Version 1, I'm so sorry, I know you're free Friday. It's just that my boss moved a deadline and my mom's in town. Don't worry, I'll take you to that new place next week, pinky promise. Version 2, Fridays no. I'm locked. Sunday 6. She can sense which man could hold a family through a storm and which one would need rescuing from his own feelings. She doesn't consciously think it. She just starts breathing differently around one and fidgeting around the other. You can't fake that shift. You have to live it. Does this mean never explain anything? It means never explain from fear. Explanation offered freely, when requested, to collaborate, that's adult. Explanation sprayed preemptively to avoid emotion, that's submission. You already know the difference in your bones. One leaves you steady. The other leaves you emptied out, scrolling your own messages like a stranger and wondering why you sound like that. Here's the rule you can use today. If your heart rate spiked before you typed, delete it. If you're trying to manage her inner weather, don't. If you can say it in one line, say it in one line. If you can say it in a word, say the word. You think she'll explode if you stop softening everything. She won't. She'll recalibrate. People treat you like the container you provide. Provide a strong one and the drama has nowhere to hook into. Provide a leaky one and the room floods. This is why playing nice keeps backfiring. You're teaching her that intensity moves you, not integrity. When you stay still, the storm has to pass or leave. Either way, you win. If she respects your center, desire deepens. If she punishes your center, you just discovered the truth faster. This is the beginning of the rebuild. You don't need a script, you need a spine. Start with one moment today where you would normally over-explain and don't. Feel the anxiety climb, breathe, hold. Let your decision stand naked without a costume. Watch how her energy changes when yours stops begging. And if you want to know the exact pressure points women unconsciously push to make you fold, and how to hold those lines without turning into a cold, performative robot, that's where we go next. You think the danger is in the fight. It isn't. It's in the silence after, where you panic, fill the space, and sell your power for cheap. She doesn't have to say a word. Your nervous system does the talking. That's where attraction dies. Not in conflict. Women can handle conflict. It dies in your apology for existing. Watch this scene like a slow-motion car crash. She says, "We'll see," with that neutral tone that makes insecure men dance. Your chest tightens. You feel the ancient itch to prove you're still a good guy. You start composing a paragraph to show how considerate you are, how much you care, how valid your reasons are. You're not communicating, you're trying to anesthetize her emotions before they happen. You hit send. She reads it and feels nothing but a heavy truth. This man is afraid of me. Not of my anger, of my reaction. And the moment your reality depends on her reaction, she can't respect it. Here's where it gets darker. She doesn't always do this consciously. Sometimes her body runs an unconscious test your body keeps failing. The test is simple. Will he stay solid if I'm not soft? She withdraws warmth for an hour. She mirrors you less. She's shorter by 3 words. It's a pressure check. A man with a spine feels the pressure and breathes into it. A man without one tries to buy oxygen with explanations. One response draws her in, the other teaches her you're rentable. You keep calling it clarifying. It isn't. It's cleaning up your own anxiety with a mop made of words. Look at your message log. Notice the pattern. Your long texts always follow 3 triggers. Her quiet, her ambiguity, her disappointment. That's not love, that's your childhood. You learned that the fastest way to survive was to over-explain, over-please, over-perform. You're not dating her, you're pleading with your past. And she feels like a therapist you never hired. Flip the frame. Picture this exact moment handled by a man who refuses humiliation by paragraph. She, you've been distant. You, been focused. She, so Friday's off? You, correct. Sunday or pass. She, I don't like feeling unimportant. You, noted. Then silence. Not a punishing silence, an adult silence. A silence that says, I won't negotiate my reality for reassurance. That silence is a mirror. She sees herself clearly in it and makes a choice. Step toward you or step away. Either choice gives you clean data. Your paragraphs give you noise. You want practical? Here are the exact pressure points that usually make you fold, and how to hold them without turning into a cold robot. She uses guilt. If you cared, you'd come. You feel the hook in your gut. Instead of explaining your entire week, offer the truth without theater. Can't. Sunday. She uses ambiguity. Maybe we'll see. Old you would chase. New you treats ambiguity as a no until it's a yes. Cool. If that changes, you know how to reach me. She uses jealousy bait. Don't worry, I've got options. Old you performs. New you refuses the stage. Then choose well. She uses delay. Let me think about it. Old you sends a bouquet of paragraphs. New you returns to your life and lets time do what your anxiety used to ruin. Here's a brutal twist. Every time you reassure her with a flood of words, you secretly teach her that drama is the currency that buys your attention. Congratulations, you just trained the relationship to get worse. When you stop paying with explanations, the drama economy collapses. She attempts the old purchase, the card declines. One of two things will happen: either she upgrades to respect, or she leaves to find a store that still accepts panic. Both outcomes are mercy. You're afraid that if you stop smoothing everything, she'll label you cold, selfish, controlling. Maybe she will. That's the tax you pay for building a spine after a lifetime without one. But watch the long arc. At first, she pushes harder. More questions, more little tests. You don't escalate, you don't defend, you don't monologue. You stand on a single sentence like it's bedrock. A week later, something shifts. Her messages get shorter but warmer. Plans get simpler. Boundaries stop being debate topics. Respect starts appearing in places you didn't know it could grow. The tightrope is real. You must hold your center without hiding behind fake detachment. Detachment is a mask that says, I don't care. Centeredness says, I care, but I won't contort. The difference is in your body. If your jaw is clenched and your thumbs are itching to type more, you're not centered, you're suppressing. Breathe. Let your heart rate settle. Then answer in one line. If you can't answer cleanly in one line, don't answer yet. Presence before words, always. One more scene, the hardest one. She confronts you face to face. I feel like you never explain yourself. The child in you wants to dump a dissertation at her feet. Don't. Look her in the eyes and give the truth she actually asked for. I'm learning to speak from decisions, not fear. I'll explain when it serves us, not when it saves me. Then shut up. Let the silence carry the weight your paragraphs never could. She won't forget that sentence. Neither will you. This is how humiliation ends, not by arguing better, but by refusing to make your life a courtroom. You don't need permission to be busy, to be focused, to be a man with plans. You need practice holding the tremor that rises when you stop buying peace with explanations. Hold it once today, then again tomorrow. The attraction you're chasing lives on the far side of that tremor. And in Chat 3, we're going to the darkest room. What to do when she escalates, weaponizes your kindness, or threatens to walk, so you never crawl back into paragraphs again. There's a moment every man hits when dealing with a woman. A moment so psychologically sharp it slices through every layer of confidence you've built. It happens when she stops reacting to your new strength the way you expected. Instead of admiring it, she becomes colder. Instead of respecting it, she tests it. Instead of softening, she intensifies. Suddenly the air between you changes. She doesn't raise her voice, she doesn't throw accusations, she doesn't even argue. She simply pulls her warmth back an inch. And that inch feels like a cliff edge. This is where most men fall apart. They don't fall because she attacked. They fall because she went quiet. They fall because she withdrew the emotional oxygen they've relied on for years. They fall because, for the first time, they have to stand on their own legs instead of leaning on her reactions. That silence she gives you? It's not punishment. It's a pressure chamber. It's the moment she's no longer testing your explanations, now she's testing your spine. You'll feel the panic creeping in. Not loud panic, subtle panic. The kind where you replay everything you said, everything you did, everything she might be thinking. The urge to fix the tension will start clawing up your throat. The impulse to soften your boundary, send a follow-up message, reassure her, explain yourself again, it will feel almost physical. And this is the precise moment that separates men she respects from men she controls. The weak man melts. The strong man doesn't move. This is where she says things she doesn't even fully understand herself. You've changed. Something feels off. I don't know if this is working. Her words aren't the real test. The real test is the emotional earthquake they cause inside you. A weak man scrambles to prove he's still the man she wants. A strong man refuses the bait. He doesn't plead. He doesn't explain. He doesn't break his own frame to chase her approval. He lets the storm hit him without flinching. Here's the part no one warns you about. The moment you stop humiliating yourself with explanations, she doesn't clap for you. She pushes harder. She needs to know the new you isn't an act. She needs to know you can handle her disappointment, her frustration, her unpredictability, without dissolving. So she leans into the tension. She lets the silence stretch longer than you can tolerate. She questions your decisions with a colder tone. She creates distance just to see whether you collapse into that old, obedient version of yourself. And here's the twist that trips every insecure man alive. She's not hoping you fail. She's hoping you hold. She's hoping you don't bend back into the man she couldn't respect. She's hoping you stay steady enough for her to relax into her femininity again. But she cannot relax around a man who relaxes into weakness. At some point she'll threaten to walk. Not because she truly wants to leave, but because she wants to see what you do when she takes a step toward the door. The old you would have grabbed her hand, begged, explained, negotiated. The man you're becoming doesn't chase someone trying to provoke fear. He simply says, "If that's your choice, I won't stop you." And that single sentence hits her harder than any paragraph you ever sent. Not because you're trying to manipulate, but because for the first time, you're speaking from internal authority instead of emotional panic. She might escalate. She might withdraw. She might go fully silent. She might snap back with something sharp just to see whether you can stay on your feet. This is the part that feels like the universe is trying to rip the mask off your face, exposing every insecure part of you that used to run the show. Your nervous system will want to collapse. Your ego will want to protect itself. The boy in you will want to fix everything so she doesn't leave. But the man in you, the man you're finally becoming, will understand the truth. You don't win a woman's respect by making her comfortable. You win it by being unshakable even when she's uncomfortable. The moment you stop explaining yourself, something inside her shifts. Slowly at first. Subtly. Her tone softens without her noticing. Her texts become shorter but warmer. The tension she created to test you begins to dissolve. She stops swinging her emotions like weapons because she sees they don't pierce you anymore. She starts adjusting to your calm instead of forcing you to adjust to her storm. She may not say it, but she feels it. This is a man I cannot push off center. That's the paradox most men never discover. When you stop humiliating yourself with explanations, she becomes the one who adjusts. When you stop panicking at her emotional distance, she becomes the one who moves closer. When you stop chasing reassurance, she becomes the one seeking connection. Not because you manipulated her, but because you finally stopped manipulating yourself. This is the final transformation. You become the man she can no longer shake. The man who doesn't collapse when she pulls back. The man who doesn't beg when she tests. The man who doesn't explain himself like a child seeking permission. The man who stands in his truth and lets the world align around it. And when she sees that man, really sees him, everything about how she behaves begins to shift. Her respect increases. Her attraction deepens. Her emotional games evaporate. Not because she changed, but because you finally did. This is how the story ends. She meets a different version of you, a version she can't dominate, can't rattle, can't bend with silence or guilt or pressure. And for the first time, she feels something stronger than comfort. She feels safe with you. Not because you give her everything she wants, but because you refuse to lose yourself to keep her. And that is the moment her entire behavior changes. Not when you explain. Not when you defend. Not when you chase. But when you finally choose yourself.